Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Kai, your host, and welcome to the Leader Lift podcast.
Leader Lift with Mike Kai, taking your leadership from one peak to the next.
Welcome to the Leader Lift podcast, where we're going to take your leadership from one peak to the next. I'm so glad that you're joining us today. I want you to lean in, take notes, tell us what impacted you the most in the comments, and have a listen, but more than anything, just allow your heart to be open to what is going to be said today through these podcasts.
Hey everybody, this is Mike Kai. I am welcoming everybody to the Leader Lift podcast, and where every leadership needs a lift and a shift. So welcome to the Leader Lift podcast. I'm here in beautiful Hawaii, and it is gorgeous December day, not a cloud in the sky, probably about 78 degrees, and it's a little hot. And I just got out of the gym playing on my Tuesday basketball pickup games with the guys I've been playing with for almost 8 years now. And I have the privilege and honor of being in the car, or rather in my truck, because I'm kind of a country boy at heart. I'm in the truck with my good friend, Pastor Jeffrey T. Osborne, all the way from Indio, California, a church called Destiny. And we just got done playing some hoops. Yeah. And welcome to the podcast.
Come on, Pastor Mike. I'm excited to be here, bud.
Oh, good to have you. Good to have you. So he just spoke this past weekend at our church and did some really great talks, conversations, different environment meetings with the different sons and daughters of our church. And one of the main reasons why I brought him here is because of that, especially because of that talk. Just tell us a little bit about yourself as we are in the truck headed back to my office.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm here on behalf of my spiritual mother and father, Pastor Obed and Pastor Lisette Martinez, as you said, from Destiny Church. And had the honor and privilege of coming on the staff back in 2016. And initially, we came to launch their second campus, which was the West Campus in Palm Springs, Cathedral City area. And so my wife and I said yes. We moved out there to Lithuania, where it was hotter than all get out. But I knew God wanted us out there, and so God used us to really just do a great movement over there, and eventually began to transition out. And I really felt the call of God that, hey, I'm called to ministry, but not in the conventional way. Okay. And so I had a talk with Pastor Obed, and we began to dialogue it, and now I serve as not only the Dream Team pastor, but I'm over the leadership development at Destiny.
What's the Dream Team?
So the Dream Team is our volunteers. Mm-hmm. So all of our volunteers that we have a little bit over 200 volunteers that we oversee, and that we just make sure that their health is doing well, and that we're just not only preparing them to do ministry work, but we're preparing them for life outside of ministry.
That's awesome. So you are, so you've played a lot of roles in church. Name all the different roles.
Yeah. Man, we were lead pastors of a church. We were campus pastors. Under Pastor Obed, we did the children's ministry, which is infant all the way up from junior high to high school. I did the media team. We're on the media team and running the cameras, sound. From there, we went on to facilities team. We were in facilities. We transitioned over from facilities. We were in parking lot ministry to cafe to host central to security, work security as well. And mind you, this was all after we took the position as campus pastors.
At any point did you say, I didn't sign up for this?
Oh, every point. I quit like 15 million times in my head. You know, I said, no, I thought we came for something else. I kept checking my employee contract to make sure I signed up for the right thing. And but we were in so many different positions over the last 3 years.
That's amazing. Well, you know, I think that's part of the journey. I think if you're a one-trick pony, you know, you're not going to have longevity. I've kind of had this saying, and one of the sayings that I've had is, if you make yourself reproducible, you have made yourself indispensable.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're willing to do anything, go anywhere, and even if you don't want to, at some point in your time in ministry, you'll be able to say that you did everything, and you'll be able to be that kind of person that is not necessarily a specialist.
Right.
Although we need specialists.
Right, absolutely.
Because we want a specialist who's running the accounting.
In Jesus' name.
We need a specialist who's doing that incredible database stuff.
Exactly.
But we don't need specialists that say, I only do worship, or I only do whatever.
Well, at Destiny, we call it not my ministry syndrome.
Okay.
So you say, that's not my ministry. That's not my job. That type of syndrome. We definitely don't need people like that. You know, Pastor Obed told me this. When I started off and I was in every single position, he used to always paint to me, one day you're going to be able to say this. One day you're going to be able to do that. But when you're in it, you don't want to hear one day because you're dealing with today. Yeah. And then looking back on it, hindsight, He goes, look, you don't need to master everything. You just need to know enough so people can't pull the wool over your eyes.
That's some street. That's some street cred talk right there,
That's real. That's from the street.
I love it. So everybody right now, you are in the Leader Lift podcast. If you just tuned in, or just reminding everybody, I've got Jeff T. Osborne, all the way from Destiny Church, Pastor Obed and Lisette Martinez, great friends and family of Inspire Church.
Yeah.
But it's awesome to have one of his sons here, and Jeff is one of his spiritual sons. And I actually said in the beginning of this podcast that one of the main reasons why I brought him here was the way that he sounded. And sons sound different, and daughters sound different. You can tell who's a son, you can tell who's a daughter.
Right.
You can tell who's probably a son and a daughter, but maybe it's never been totally articulated on what sonship and daughtership is. And that's where we at.
Yeah,
that's where we're at.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about how this got developed. It's not necessarily a new concept, but it's a concept that every pastor, shepherd, leader should understand.
Yeah, it's not, you hit the nail on the head. It's not a new concept, but it's a concept that many people avoid. In ministry, if you're really holy, like you say, we use words like I'm a son and a daughter of the house.
Yeah.
But we've gotten so accustomed to just saying that in title, but not in action. And so we think that sonship or daughtership is a position, but really it's a posture.
Wow.
It's a posture that you take as a son and daughter, and it's not tied down to age, so you're older than your pastor, so therefore you can't be a son or a daughter, but it's a position that says I'm choosing to take my giftings and what God has called me to come underneath or come alongside a spiritual mother and father or a pastor to be able to say that vision, man, I'm going to take this vision, I'm going to make it my own, and at the end of the day, I have to be willing to trust who God has entrusted my life into so that I can become who I'm called to be.
At some point in what point of your ministry or your journey from which is an incredible story, and people got to go to our website at inspire.church. You're going to listen to the 10:45 a.m. service, and a lot of it tells his journey and his story. But I really want you to tell us, and also you ministered greatly with our youth at our youth remix. Thank you so much. But how did this started to solidify in your own life?
So for most people, they want to become a son or a daughter, or they take positions in the church because there's really no place else to go, or they don't feel like, sometimes they're like, well, this is where at least I know for sure I can get a job. For me, it wasn't that. Prior to me even becoming a pastor, for the last 10 years, I did a lot of motivational speaking for Fortune 5 companies, a lot of professional sports teams. And so I fought church. I didn't want to be a pastor, but I knew that there was something in my life that I was missing. And so I would go and I would travel all over the world and stay in these great places, and I was making, great money, but something inside of me was empty. I had no mentor. I had nobody, covering me. But then it went even deeper than just needing a mentor. I needed somebody who was going to guide my soul. And so when I came and I found Pastor Obed, something inside of me says, you're tied to this man. Yeah. There's something inside of me that says, I don't know what it is, I don't know what it looks like, but your destiny is tied to him. And so I heard, okay, this is going to be crazy. I heard an interview with Christine Kane. Okay. I've never met her, but she said something. They said, well, how's your relationship work with Brian Houston? Pastor Brian Houston. And she goes, look, that's my father. And so I was like, oh, are they related? And then I realized that they weren't by blood, but she was like, he's my pastor. So if I'm in Japan or I'm somewhere far, if he calls me, I'm stopping whatever I'm doing and I'm there because I'm called to that. And something inside of me says, it's no fun running by yourself. I want to be a part of something bigger than myself. And that's how that journey began. And so when I found Pastor Obed, he was the first person who was just real. He was raw. He was honest with me. And the first time I met him, he cut me, like not physically, but cut my ego and my pride. And part of me, I didn't know how to take it. I didn't know if I wanted to fight him or hug him.
Oh, get offended?
Yeah, get offended.
And let it go deep?
Yeah, exactly right.
Root.
That's exactly right. Well, the difference was, and I share this, is there's a difference between being stabbed and being cut.
What's the difference?
So a pastor there's two parts of a pastor. You have the pastor who carries the staff, and that's kind of has the hook on the end. So they kind of just guide you. Hey, I wouldn't do that. Yeah. But then there comes a moment where your pastor becomes your spiritual father, and they carry a scalpel. And the goal with the scalpel is to be able to circumcise you in the areas of your life where you have excess stuff, or you have excess pride, you have excess ego.
Yeah.
You have all these things that are stopping you from getting into the door of your destiny. And so when you allow them to cut you surgically with the scalpel, it's done with intention.
Yeah.
But then there are other pastors who choose to, or different leaders who choose to stab you, and that means they just jabbing at you without any correction, without telling you why they're doing it. And that's why a lot of us, and I say us, meaning a lot of sons and daughters, and a lot of these young, powerful, driven, anointed sons and daughters who are coming up this next generation, we don't know how to deal with spiritual fathers or authority because we're used to being stabbed instead of strategically cut so that we can grow.
And oftentimes a spiritual son or spiritual daughter who's been stabbed in one place,
you carry it over.
you carry it over.
Oh, absolutely. You take the character of that one person and then you just place it on the new one. I remember when we had a bad incident happen with a church that we were part of and we lost it all. And I remember when Pastor Obed first offered us the position and the opportunity to come on staff with him, I was like, nah, we ain't doing it again. Like, there ain't no way this brother's pushing it. I'm going to place my life in somebody else's hands so I can get hurt again. And I'll never forget what my wife said. Proverbs 9 says, talks about wisdom and calls it a her. And that's why I'm convinced that your wives have, the ability to have that wisdom from God. Because she goes, you know what, babe? We're dealing with double jeopardy. And I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, we're allowing our hurt to hurt us twice.
Wow.
Yeah, bruh. So you allowed the first hurt to hurt you a second time with a different opportunity that God could be bringing your way, all because you refuse to let that other one go. You're placing that character or that pain on somebody new who could bless your life. And in our instance, it was Pastor Obed and Pastor Lisette.
Wow. That's profound. You're already hurt once. You don't get hurt twice because of you're reliving the pain. And you're projecting it onto somebody else, and it's actually holding back your future.
Oh, absolutely.
It's capping you, what you could become. Over the years, while I'm driving, I'm just thinking about a handful of people, sons and daughters, more sons.
Yep.
And part of me just feels bad, feels sorry for them because they could have had the sonship.
Yep.
Could have had it and had it actually. And then there's the other part where some people didn't want necessarily sonship.
Yeah.
They wanted. How would I put it? Like an equal share.
Oh, absolutely.
Or same billing, or top billing, or greater opportunity, or leveraged opportunities, green room access. What do you feel about those things?
So I'm writing a book called Son of a Gun right now, and the whole premise is that we in our generation, we call pastors like you, pastors Obed, pastors like Dino Rizzo, and all these other great pastors, Chris Hodges, all these great guys who have gone before us. We call you guys guns. And so the theme of the book is called Son of a Gun. So what does it mean to be the son of a gun? And so the whole premise is that if we as sons and daughters are bullets, that means our spiritual mother and fathers are the guns.
Yeah.
And if you don't allow yourself as a bullet to be put in a tight, confined space, and then allow the blunt force to push you and traject you further, then you'll just sit in the box, you'll sit on the shelf of life and never fulfill your full potential.
Wow.
And so the challenge is you have sons and daughters who are bullets trying to be the guns, but you're not there yet in your life. And so when you look at this, we have this entitlement issue that says, I'm gifted, so therefore I should get gifts.
Okay.
And so not knowing that there is a price to be at the level of where you guys are at. You guys have paid the price that many people don't want to pay or aren't willing to pay. And so what we do is we're taught in this world, it's the Instagram type of success. The ones where the people sit next to a Ferrari that's on the street and snap pictures and sit on the hood and hurry up and get off before the owner comes and kicks them off so that they can seem like they're doing something big, or they're hashtagging hustle hard and success came overnight. And the reality is we've been sold a bill of goods that in ministry that you can have this luxurious life without paying the price.
Yeah.
And so
good. Yeah. It happens all the time.
Absolutely.
But I got to speak about the flip side.
Yeah.
And the flip side is there's two sides to that flip-sided coin. So here it is.
Yeah.
Well, the first one is I've got to become a better father.
Yeah.
I need to become a better spiritual father. And because if we've got sons and daughters who are understanding sonship and daughtership, if the fathers and the mothers don't get a revelation and the correct information on what it means to father and daughter and mother the right way, not in an abusive way, not in an oppressive way, not in an intimidating, manipulating way, I think we're going to have healthier houses of God. So tell me about, how does someone listening to this podcast right now is a son or daughter of a house. They're not a senior pastor. They thought about planting their own church one day. Thought, no, maybe let me just die to that dream right now. And by the way, if you're dying to a dream right now, stop telling us all that you're dying to a dream. Yeah. Because you're not dying. You ain't doing it. Yeah, you're not dying.
You just put it on the shelf right now.
Quit telling me how many times you died to your dream, okay? Yeah. Okay, so, because there's a lot of sacrifice, period, involved in following Jesus.
Absolutely.
So, this young guy, young woman is listening to me right now, listening to us, and they want to plant, and they decided not to. They decided to stay. But they might be in an environment that is not as healthy, where they're feeling a little bit used, taken advantage of, and all that. What would you tell them to navigate this season, this journey?
So we have something at Destiny Church called OHRC. Open, honest, responsible communication.
Okay.
OHRC. The biggest problem for most of us who are sons and daughters is that we have these visions, we have these dreams, and then when we get something or we're told something that comes off the wrong way, or we're not in a healthy environment, we don't say anything. And so because we don't speak, our spiritual mother and fathers, our pastors, they don't know how we feel. Okay. And so what I found out, in most cases, it's not intentional. Yeah. They're not trying to hurt you. They're not trying to do this. But if we don't speak up as sons and daughters and share where we are, but notice the word. It's open, honest. Here's the second part, responsible communication, not reactive communication. Okay. In other words, I'm responding, meaning, hey, this is how I felt, Pastor, when you said this. Help me to understand why this was done. This is my goal. This is my dream. This is where I feel like God is taking me. Now, I'm asking you, can you help me develop a path on how to get there? And when you are open and you're honest and you're responsible, not saying, well, you know what, not waiting till you blow up and you start bashing your church, and the next minute, you know, you're at a conference with another pastor, you know, because they offered you the quick route, or they offered you a better position, and they seem like they loved you. Not doing that, because God will not honor that. Yeah. You have to make sure that you have given your pastor every opportunity to understand how you feel, and then give them grace and space to digest what you said.
Because most guys don't even process it with their pastors.
No, they don't.
They just bounce.
No, they process it, but they're processing it with the wrong people.
That's right.
So they may be processing it or pouring their hearts out to somebody else's ministry, another pastor, who will see, and it's sad to say, they've been like, oh, there's my opportunity. Or they are processing it with people who are complainers or don't have the capacity to give them clarity and enough wisdom to do it in the right way that honors the spiritual household or the spiritual mother and fathers of the house.
And then they get blindsided.
So now the pastor's like, okay, hey guys, I'm so excited. You go to the Christmas party and you find out somebody ain't there. And then they posted my new home, you know, or they posted, man, service was great. And you're like, man, I didn't preach that. And you find out they're somewhere else. And then the pastors get blindsided. And that's the thing, you know, Pastor Mike, that as a son, we have to, and as sons and daughters, we got to understand that our senior pastors, you guys are human as well. Yeah. And the weight and the pain that it takes when you get hit like that, it knocks you out. And the only reason why I know that is because when my wife Nadia and I were campus pastors, we had those who were raised up with us. We were pouring into them. Next thing you know, we see them bashing us on Facebook. We see them bashing us on Twitter. And we're like, we didn't even know you felt that way. If you would have just let us know, we could have done something about it.
Yeah. Yeah, even worse if they go to Instagram, they go to Yelp, you know, and
they smash you. Yeah, they give you a 1-star, and then
I just found a really good church. Oh my gosh! And then everybody else wants to go and plants the seed. But that's not sonship. That's something different.
Yeah, absolutely. You're dealing with an Absalom spirit. Yeah, it's not sonship. Yeah, that's a Gehazi. That's an Absalom type of mentality, and it's not honor. At the end of the day, you know, Pastor Obed has taught us there's 3 H's that we live by as sons and daughters. Okay, what else? It's being holy, humble, and honoring. H3. holy, humble, and honoring. When I'm holy, I recognize that my life is set apart, so therefore I can't react the same way that everybody else would react.
Yeah.
I don't have the opportunity or the option to do that. The second one is being humble, recognizing that every time you get an opportunity to have a seat at the table, nobody owes you nothing.
Yeah.
Your pastor paid the price to have that church. They carry that weight on their shoulder. If you have a seat at the table, you want to honor that and be humble that God has given you the opportunity to have a seat at the table. And if you don't have a seat at the table, really being humble and knowing that you're part of ministry, and as you begin to honor God in everything that you do, that you'll get an opportunity. And the last one is honor. And that's the biggest one, is honor is the currency of elevation. And so,
Say that again.
honor is the currency to elevation.
To get higher.
It's getting higher. It's honoring. Well, what does that mean? It means you honor the ministry you in, like parking lot when you've been called to be a campus pastor. It means you honor sweeping the floor, because until you can sweep somebody else's floor, God will never give you a floor to sweep on your own. It's honoring your spiritual mother and father and carrying that weight, knowing that one day you're going to have somebody in your ministry or whatever that may look like who you're going to want them to help you come alongside you and build that. And so if we don't honor up, then we'll be stuck in a downward position, not being able to elevate, because everything that God does is based through honor.
Come on. That's awesome. Awesome. What are the other things, the greatest things that you learned under Pastor Obed besides the 3 H's?
Don't rush the process. If anybody... If they don't hear if they never hear my voice again, do not rush the process, because what is for you is for you. One of the things Pastor Obed taught me, and one of the things that I love about him, he says, we don't commit to a position. We don't commit to promises. We commit to the process. And when you commit to the process, what you find out is it's a quicker route to the promise that God has for your life. And so you don't have to try to jockey for position. You don't have to try to manipulate your way, because you can't manipulate God anyway. And so when you understanding that you can't rush the process, and when you understand the process, every single step of the way, God is preparing you and bringing you one step closer for you to become who He's called you to be. And that happens in every single season of life that you're in as a son and a daughter.
So good, bro. We're going to have to listen to this. If you're listening to this podcast, you're going to have to go twice. Twice. You're going to have to hand this one off. You're going to send it to your pastors, friends. You're going to send it to your brothers and sisters in Christ. You're going to send it to anybody right now as preventative medicine, kind of like probiotics versus antibiotics.
That's it.
Yeah, because you want to make sure you catch this before you catch it later.
Absolutely.
And so it's been great having you. I know you got a couple more days left in the islands, and you're going to relax and have a good time. But you've been such a blessing to Lisa and me and to the church, and we really appreciate you, brother.
Hey, we love you. Thank you so much for the honor of being here.
Awesome. God bless.
Come on.
God bless.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening to the Leader Lift podcast. If you were impacted by today's message, let us know. Email us at info@inspire.church or tell us in the comments. You can check out mikekai.tv for more leadership resources through my books, Plateaus, or the Pound for Pound Principle. And don't forget to subscribe and rate us on the podcast. You can also find this podcast on all major podcast platforms. Subscribe to us there also, and you can listen again on your way to work. You can also find this podcast on YouTube. Search for Inspire Church TV and click on the Leader Lift playlist, and you can watch us on your lunch break again. Don't forget to subscribe so you get all the latest info. God bless.